Hey folks, so this video, as I said, ended up being super long, and right now I am just going to do section 2. So now I'm going to talk about how to have a place to live when you come to France as a language assistant, as well as how to get around, like what's the transportation going to be like and how to work that out. So let's do this. Okay, housing. Where are you going to live? So while you work in France as an assistant, there are several different options for housing. So I'm going to give you my situation first, or my experiences first. Okay, no, I'll give you like the general experience first, or what I think is the general experience. So most people have to get an apartment, or a good amount of people have to find an apartment. You can start looking for an apartment before you arrive in France, but more than likely, the real looking for an apartment is going to get done when you are in France. So you'd have to like sign a contract and maybe get like somebody to guarantee your lease. And in general, from my own experience, I did not have to do that. I have a friend who did that, and for the first few weeks he stayed in an Airbnb. Maybe the first 2 weeks he stayed in an Airbnb, and afterwards he got his apartment, he got sorted out, he got settled. And depending on where you are in France, the rent obviously varies. So in Paris, your rent might be like literally 700 euros, like most of your paycheck. And that's why I suppose for people who just want the experience and who don't have like a lot of money in savings, which can like supplement your limited monthly stipend, monthly pay, I would say like honestly don't choose a region like Paris, because it's just going to be expensive. Like your apartments are going to be expensive, your food is going to be expensive, like day-to-day life is going to be expensive. You can choose like a region like Besançon, which is to the east of France, so like kind of like southeast. It's not a very expensive place, especially compared to like Paris or compared to Nice, and like an expensive region. And you're still close to like Switzerland or Germany, so you can still get to travel. Seeing that your rent is going to take up a somewhat significant amount of your salary, you are able to apply for this thing called CAF, CAF, which is actually like a government like I don't know, like relief program or welfare program, which gives you back a certain percentage of your rent every month. And it's different for everybody. For some people it's a real pain, but like my friend who rented an apartment, he didn't start receiving his CAF money until like maybe February, which was great because at that point he now had like a bunch of money coming in, but he kind of struggled for all of the months until February. So there's renting an apartment and doing that whole CAF process. There is also what you can do. Some people, they are an au pair at the same time as being an assistant, so they already have like their housing sorted out. But I'm just gonna go more with the general experience. So there's rent an apartment, getting CAF. You can also rent like university housing. We are also able to, in general, you're also able to apply for university housing, and it's this thing called CROUS, like Crous or Kraus, I don't know. Kraus sounds more German, so maybe it's not that. But yeah, and this housing tends to be like really inexpensive. So you move from paying maybe $300 or $400 for a general apartment to the university housing is probably between like 150, 200 euros, say 200 euros. And you can still apply to CAF for that and get a percentage of it back. Obviously, this university housing scheme thing is only available in places where there are universities. So if like the nearest university is like 30 kilometers away, there isn't going to be one of these things. It's more for people who are in big cities. Something that you maybe can do, I'm just giving you an opportunity, like something to think about, is that you can live in one of these places and then take like public transport or like train or bus, whatever, to get to where you live if it's like reasonable, you know? And which leads me into, so I'm actually gonna like come back to this point real quick. Another thing, if you have family or friends in France, you can put their name down and their address, not so much their name, but their address down in your application. And you will be, well, I think you also have to put a letter. So I'm going to put a letter for mine. You put down their address, a letter from them saying that they would let you stay there for these 7 months, and you get placed into that region, in that region. So that's another option. And the fourth option that I'm going to talk about is the internat. It's like the boarding school at a school. It's the boarding house at a school. Yeah, and it's typically for students living far away from the school or living not so far away from the school. But there's small rooms with shared showers, shared kitchens. I stayed in one of these when I was an assistant in the Academy of Strasbourg at first, and I actually didn't get a room that was with all of the other students. My room was like in a teacher's section of the internet, and so I had my own bedroom, which was like a little bit larger, I'm told, than the bedrooms that the students have, and I also had a shower and a sink in my room. So there's a little door, I had a shower, a sink, and then I shared a toilet with another assistant. Why was there no sink by the toilet? I do not know. Anyway, so I had that little space, and I paid like 150 euros a month. I didn't bother to apply for CAF because I thought it would just be like too much stress, like the whole thing takes months, and my rent was already so small that I was like, whatever, so I didn't apply for it. Maybe that was foolish because some people who live in that like university housing who paid like just 20 euros more than me, they get back almost like 100 euros, so maybe I should have done it, but at the time I didn't do it. But I actually didn't end up, and it probably kind of worked out because I didn't end up living there for the entire time. Eventually I found that it was a bit depressing, and I had the opportunity to live with some family friends in like literally just outside Strasbourg itself, like just at the end of one of the tram lines, and I absolutely loved being there and being with that family. And so in the end I just decided to to move there. I wasn't paying any rent there. I would just like sometimes walk the youngest daughter to school. It was really sweet. Anyway, but in that case, I ended up having to take one tram to get from where I was living to the main like train station, and then take a train that took like 50 minutes to the town that I was working in Mulhouse, and then I took another tram to get to my school itself. So my transportation bill got really high. What I did, and what I recommend you to do, is to get like an abonnement, which is just like this, I don't know how to say it. It's like, okay, it's a monthly pass that, right, so this monthly pass, like it grouped together the transportation that I had to take, and then it gave me a slightly discounted price. So instead of paying like the full price for the tram pass in Strasbourg, full price for going between between Strasbourg and Mulhouse, the town that I was working in, and then paying for the tram passes in Mulhouse, I got an abonnement which grouped together all of those costs, gave me a bit of a discount, and then all throughout France, once you work somewhere, I'm not sure if this works if you're driving your own vehicle, which is also an option, but it kind of does make sense. But yeah, if you're taking, I know for sure if you're taking public transport, your employer pays for 50% of your cost for getting to work and back home. So at first I was just paying for the local like Mulhouse tram pass, and that was about like 26 euros a month. and I had started applying for like to get back the 50% of that. But once I moved to Strasbourg, my monthly transportation expenses went up to like over 100 euros a month, like I don't know, like 130 or so euros a month. And I still put in my papers, and then I got back 50% of that, which made it great. However, there is a limit. So I think the limit is like 200 and something euros, and it may depend on where you're living, like what area you're in, that you can get like maybe a lower limit or a higher limit. So at 130 euros, I was still within the limit. So I applied, got back my money, and that was great. This is something you can do even if you're like the transportation you need to take is just in your local area, and it's like 17 euros. Like, still put it in and get back half of that. It takes no, like, really takes no effort on your part. All right, and the very last thing, which is still like kind of like an internet, when I was an assistant in Biason in Orléans the last year, there was free housing for the assistants, which really made me so happy. There was free housing. So I didn't live in an internat in like a boarding house that year in Biason. I lived in a like bâtiment fonctionnaire, which is basically a building at this school where people like the people serving in the canteen, the like groundsman, in my case the what do you call it? The like vice principal. All of these people like live in this building, and sometimes they have extra spaces in it. So I got to live in one of these places free of rent, free of charge. The only thing that we had to pay was an insurance, and I lived there with 2 other assistants, and so the insurance turned out to be like 14 euros a month, so we just divided that by 3, and that was all we had to pay for the building that we were living in, which is amazing and ridiculous, but also amazing. Those are some tips on transportation. Another great way to get around when you're an assistant is to use a bicycle if it's available to you. It just like you can walk, you can use a bicycle, and you could find bikes on Le Bon Coin, which is like Craigslist / Kijiji for Canadians, and you can just find things on it. It's really great resource. Alright, thanks so much for having a look at part 2 of this video. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful at all, and if it gave you any ideas. You can also check out part 3 of this video, which will be uploaded soon, as well as part 1, which was uploaded. I'm gonna tag it right up there somewhere, you'll see it. But yeah, thanks so much, and look out for part 3 coming soon. Bye!